travels. Welcome back to my very own slice of the internet. How are you? Tell me how you are. I genuinely want to know. What's new? What's going on? Tell me if you want to. You don't have to. I am actually refilming this intro because the first time I filmed it, I just realized when I was editing, it was way too windy and you could hardly hear what I was saying. So, in case you missed it, last week I did a video where I let my tarot cards choose my books. But because of my poor time management skills and executive dysfunction, I ended up not being able to get through all 3 books. So I decided that I would save one of the books, The Miracle of Mindfulness, for this video and do a reading vlog on both The Miracle of Mindfulness and Anger, Wisdom for Cooling the Flames by Thich Naht Hanh, since they're by the same author. So yeah, that's what's going on in this video. Come along for the ride if you want to. Okay, here we go. I read for a little less than an hour. I got to page 101, and this is how I'm feeling. I really like this. First of all, can we talk about the illustrations? I mean, come on. They're gorgeous. Gorgeous. Wait, there's one that I really like that I want to show you. This one. What? Come on. Come on. Sorry for that noise. The neighbor's doing some things. I can't control it. Another thing that I really like about this book is that it not only offers you wisdom, it offers you practical ways to implement such wisdom. And I think that's very important, especially for people like me. Like, it's all well and good to tell me that I need to do something, but if you don't tell me how I need to do it, then I struggle with it. So not only is the book explaining how important mindfulness is and why it's important, it's explaining ways that you can implement mindfulness, and I really appreciate that. Yeah, I've got therapy today and I need to eat before I go, so I am done reading for now. I'll probably read more later. I'll let you know how it goes. Good morning. It's a couple of days later. Therapy really kicked my ass the other day, and so I never read or updated y'all. That day, yesterday, was a day off, and I didn't do any reading anyway, but I'm gonna get back to it today. I should be able to finish the Miracle of Mindfulness today, and then I had already started Anger, Wisdom for Cooling the Flames, and so I'm already a good chunk of the way through it. But when I transition from Miracle of Mindfulness back to Anger, I will let y'all know where I'm at and what my thoughts are so far on Anger. And yeah. Just finished the Miracle of Mindfulness. And these are my thoughts. I didn't finish it in its entirety because the last 30 pages are Buddhist sutras. Because if you didn't know, Thich Nhat Hanh is actually he was a Buddhist monk. I'm not going to read them right now because there's nothing that bores me to death like religious texts. Church trauma, church trauma. We'll say we'll blame it on that church trauma. Overall, though, I really enjoyed this book. The illustrations at the start of each chapter are beautiful, and as I said before, not only is he sharing wisdom, the last chapter actually written by Thich Nhat Hanh is let's see, it's about 20 pages of different methods for meditating. And I thought that the instructions, including those instructions, was a cool touch that I really appreciate. There are plenty of great tidbits of wisdom in here that I found I really related to in my current life situation. So I've underlined a ton of things. Let me see what some of my favorites are, and I will share them with you. Oh, I especially like this quote that says, "When a feeling or thought arises, your intention should not be to chase it away. Even if by continuing to concentrate on the breath, the feeling or thought passes naturally from the mind. The intention isn't to chase it away, hate it, worry about it, or be frightened by it. So, what exactly should you be doing concerning thoughts and feelings? Simply acknowledge their presence." I think that's good advice on sitting with your feelings and actually feeling them. By recognizing them and acknowledging them, being mindful of them, it's not going to be something that you're going to have to come back and deal with later. And it can be very healing. So I really enjoyed that quote. We've also got this quote about the concept of if you yourself are practicing mindfulness, that will unintentionally influence the people around you to practice mindfulness. So it says, in a family, if there's one person who practices mindfulness, the entire family will be more mindful because of the presence of the one member who lives in mindfulness. The entire family is reminded to live in mindfulness. And that really hit. There were some things in here that I don't think my brain was ready to hear or digest yet. So chapter 5, the chapter about the 5 aggregates, there were some things in there that kind of went over my head a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Especially this bit about, I'm just gonna read it. When we practice mindfulness of objects outside of ourselves, the knowledge of these objects is also mind. therefore the contemplation of the nature of interdependence of all objects is also the contemplation of mind. I get it, and I understand what it's saying and what it's supposed to say, but like something about it just isn't clicking in my brain. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I think that it was a very useful read, and I am glad that I read it. And I will be coming back to this as I need to. As I mentioned earlier, I already started reading Anger, Wisdom for Cooling the Flames, also by Thich Nhat Hanh. I am about 69 pages in, so I've read the first 3 chapters already. I actually started reading it before I even started making last week's video because your girl is neck deep in trauma therapy and it is triggering a lot of anger for me. A partner suggested that this might be useful for me, and I'm only 3 chapters in, and look at all of these tabs. Look at all of these tabs. I am finding it very useful, and just like the Miracle of Mindfulness, not only is he offering concepts, he's offering ways to implement these concepts that he's describing. I am relating to it, and I am finding so much in here that I have already started using that I think is very helpful. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue to read this, and I will check in with you guys later. So I made it to about the halfway mark, nearly the halfway mark. I think I'm at like 48% of Anger yesterday. I am on I'm about to start chapter 6. I'm on page 111. Still really loving it. I'm finding lots of truths, lots of good reminders. I really appreciate the reminder that anger isn't evil or bad. Just like mindfulness isn't good or right, they're simply emotions. And emotions are just energy, an energy that is a part of us. In order to take care of ourselves, we have to take care of the emotions that make us not feel so good. The best way to take care of those emotions is to generate an environment in yourself of an emotion that makes us feel a little better, like mindfulness. And I think it's really important that he notes that anger or other negative emotions aren't something to be suppressed. It's important to feel your feelings and not just chase them away. Now, there were a couple of things that I read yesterday that were maybe a little bit harder for me to process. And like, I understand what he's trying to say. I think in specific situations, it doesn't necessarily apply. Page 78, he says that if you had nurtured the right emotions in the person who is making you angry, that they wouldn't cause you so much suffering. And so that in part you are responsible for your own suffering or your own anger in this case. And as I kept reading, I think that I started to understand what he was trying to say a little bit more. However, I think that in the case of a child, like an actual little child, and an adult, own adult parent. It is entirely up to that parent to regulate their own emotions. Child would be in no way responsible for that. And I've also learned through therapy and my experience in life that we can't always hold ourselves accountable for other people's emotions. We can hold ourselves accountable for the actions that caused those emotions, but it's up to the other person to regulate those emotions. There was also something else that I read yesterday that gave me pause. It says, "You know that your daughter is the way she is because you are the way you are. You are interdependent. You are the way you are because your son is the way he is. You are not separate." Here's what I think about that. I think that yes, children are often the way they are because of the way their parents are. As far as nature versus nurture goes, nurture does play a big role in the development of who a child is and how they perceive and handle the world as they grow into adults. But the part about parents being the way they are because of the way their children are, I don't think, maybe it's because I don't have kids, but I'm not fully grasping that concept. In a healthy child parent dynamic, the parent has much more responsibility than the child does, at least in the case of small underage children. But I do kind of get that, like, when you become a parent, that on a very deep level changes who you are as a person. But saying you are the way you are because of who the you are the way you are because of the way your child is, after saying that your child is the way they are because of how you are, it kind of like does not compute. It doesn't compute in my head because that's basically saying you are the way you are because you are the way you are. And my brain just kind of goes, huh? I mean, I suppose that sentence makes sense. You are the way you are because you are the way you are. I just think that there are a lot of other elements that factor into that, factor into who we are as people. Yeah. So, those are my thoughts. I am going to go ahead and read some more. I'm not sure if I'm going to finish this today. I'll probably finish it tomorrow. But anyway, I'm just going to read. Finished Anger. I, for the most part, liked it. There were some things about it that, like, under certain circumstances, I just don't necessarily agree with. But in general, I really liked it. I think that it will be a good resource for me to refer back to during this whole healing process that I'm going through. There are some points that I wanted to touch on in the last little bit of the book. There's a point where Thich Naht Hanh is describing this situation where this little 5-year-old girl, you see her mother kind of being mean to her and talking roughly to her, and he goes on to list all of the things that you can do to help mindfully in the situation. And one of the things that he said was, teach the child how to react when the mother becomes angry and violent to avoid making the situation worse. Maybe it's just because of where I'm at and my life experiences, but my brain immediately screamed, no, no, because it's not the child's fault and they aren't responsible for regulating their parents' emotions. Sorry about the noises outside. I can't do anything about it like normal. I'm sorry. But yeah, I understand I think what he was trying to say is explain to the child how they can keep themselves safe. And that I understand. But I think that it could be worded a little better. And maybe that's just me being like nitpicky and like maybe that's my trauma speaking, but that's what those are my thoughts on that. I also wanted to touch on one of the things I said in the previous clip where I spoke to y'all about how I didn't necessarily agree with the idea of there being no separation between your kid, and you, and the concept of like you are the way you are because of how your child is, and like the whole interdependence thing that I was trying to talk about there. I came to realize as I was reading is that I haven't fully embraced, I don't really understand the concept, the idea of there being no separate self. I understand that we are all just the universe experiencing itself. I understand that on an intellectual level, but not in a concrete and tangible way. I felt like when he was saying that you are the way you are because of the way your son is, that is placing the blame on the child or giving too much responsibility in the dynamic between the parent and the child, giving too much responsibility to the child. However, as I kept reading later on, there was a section that kind of helped me understand that better, and it helped me connect to the idea in a more concrete way, I guess. There are some bits that maybe I'm just not in the right place spiritually, but I did not connect with and I did not agree with. And so, like, for instance, the bit about the police, as a Black queer woman living in America, it was a little bit like I didn't fully connect, but I understand what he was trying to say. I do appreciate the sentiment behind it. But there are just some things I thought maybe were unnecessary to put in here. I also wanted to say that I am really glad that I went ahead and finished The Miracle of Mindfulness before I finished reading Anger, because I feel like it helped me understand the things that I was reading a little bit more. I probably wouldn't rate Anger as highly as I would rate The Miracle of Mindfulness. I'd probably give The Miracle of Mindfulness like a 4.95, and Anger I'd probably give like a 4.5 out of 5. Cutting in again just to say that I forgot to share my favorite quote from Anger. I feel like it's one that really needs to be shared, and so I'm gonna go ahead and read it. Thich Nhat Hanh says, "If your house is on fire, the most urgent thing to do is to go back and try to put out the fire. Not to run after the person you believe to be the arsonist. If If you run after the person you suspect has burned your house down, your house will burn down while you are chasing him or her. This is not wise. Man, when I read this, I had to take a second to digest because it blew my mind. Like, seriously blew my mind. I had to text my girlfriend about it and be like, man, this, my mind, my mind is blown. I also want to talk about, real quick, another thing I forgot to talk about when I was making the last clip for this video is that when I was reading reviews, I noticed that a lot of people were salty about the idea that if you eat angry chickens, then you are consuming that anger. Like, then that anger is going to be in you. And I just wanted to explain that from my point of view because some people were really salty about it. Anger is energy, right? And energy, it can't be created and it can't be destroyed. It can only be transformed. When you kill a chicken that is angry, that energy is still going to be there. It's still going to be in the meat. And so when you consume an angry chicken, you are consuming that energy. You're taking that energy into yourself. This is what he was trying to say. And I don't think it was something to be salty about. It's all about energy, man. It's just all about energy. So yeah, those are my thoughts on those two books by Thich Nhat Hanh. With that, that's gonna do it for me, humans and extraterrestrials. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope you had a good time. I hope maybe you consider picking up these books. I think that they are really helpful and they will be really useful tools to have, especially if you're going through a healing journey as I am. As always, I would like you to let me know in the comments how you're doing, how was your week, what's going on in your life. I genuinely want to know, so go ahead, let me know. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and like the video. If you didn't, don't. You could even dislike the video if you'd like. If you want to stick around for my journey, go ahead and subscribe. I hope y'all have a good week, and I will see y'all in the next one.